If your shot sort of ends with like someone walking out the room and you're like swinging after them and then you cut suddenly to them standing somewhere else, that'll be jarring. If you're going to move the camera, why are you moving the camera? Yeah, you shouldn't fix it in post, but you can. I should say as a disclaimer that I wasn't like filming Harry Potter. I was like standing in the background holding a door, but it was great.
Welcome back to Making Video Your Business. Today, I'm joined by my colleague and friend Nick Kay, our head of production.
Hello.
Which is nice.
Pleasure to be joined by you.
This is the first time that you and I have been on the podcast together.
It is. It is. Or at least it is for us, but may not be for the audience.
No. Because we're a one hit. This is a one hit.
Oh, this is it.
It's a one time
this is our one
deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for one night only. But yeah, which is good because we've been friends for a very long time.
One and done.
Yeah. So how can people improve the quality of their shots?
Spend a ton of money and buy some really expensive gear.
Yes. I mean, yeah, of course.
Well, no, I mean, no, actually, don't do that. So, shots.
Yeah. What are the big mistakes people make, do you think?
That's a good question. That's a great question. If I may say.
Thanks.
So I would say, well, framing is never mentioned or talked about when people start trying to make video. How you organize a shot. It's like it's the first thing. Like people know that lighting's a thing, and they know that they kind of worry about the action that they're going to do, or they're going to talk, or how they look, and all those sorts of things. But you're out, say, in the world, and you're doing a bit of footage, and you're just putting yourself in the shot. You got some stuff in the background, like having a little look at what is the best way to be looking. Don't worry about things that aren't in the shot, because that's one thing that often people get very sort of that you're shooting in a room or an office or a house, say, and then you feel like you got to tidy the whole room. You got kind of tidy everything up. The only thing that matters is what the camera sees. One
of my biggest tips, and I don't know whether you would agree, is when it comes to movement, often less is more.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
I was employing that in my answer. Less is more. Yeah, it is. Yeah, well, certainly, if you're going to move the camera, why are you moving the camera? So these are the sorts of questions that I might think about if I'm filming something. If I'm going to do anything, why am I doing it? So if you want to have someone sort of walking down the street talking to the camera and the camera moves, so that you could argue is more interesting than them standing on a corner still talking to the camera. So that might be why you might put that movement in. But if you're going to sort of swing around, like everything, every time you move a camera, it's going to look more exaggerated when you actually watch it back. That's why you're holding it and you think you're doing great, and then you come back and it looks like you've been, modern cameras and phones and stuff have got stabilization into them, so they'll forgive a lot of that now, which is fantastic because it means you can do more handheld stuff. But yeah, like keep that movement controlled and motivated. So why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And the other thing to think about is what you're editing up against, because if your shot sort of ends with like someone walking out the room and you're like swinging after them and then you cut suddenly to them standing somewhere else, that'll be jarring.
Yeah.
So another good idea about movement is where you're starting and where you're getting to. So think about the start and the end of the movement. Don't just kind of move.
Unit K have worked on some of the biggest productions ever filmed, things like Harry Potter. How have you seen some of the technology that was employed then now translate to sort of mass market to consumer?
I should say as a disclaimer that I wasn't like filming Harry Potter. I was like standing in the background holding a door, but it was great. Watching that done and learning from it was really interesting. And not at first, not really understanding. And then gradually, actually, when I then went freelance later and was doing camera work, then kind of remembering things, going, oh, so that's what they were, that was the whole point of that. Because actually one of my first jobs on a movie, on The Wolfman, I was literally sitting in a stall for like a day while people moved lights around me, because I was just standing basically. So the camera was there. And so it was a really cool job because you could hear the director of photography like talking to his lighting crew and going, oh, can you just move that light 6 inches to the right and stuff. And then so revisiting that later when I'm doing stuff with little LED lights or whatever, or in my own gear, was interesting to sort of think, oh, there you go. I'm now making the same decisions and the same sort of thoughts as those guys were. In terms of the tech and where it's gone, yeah. I mean, one thing was early doors, or what happened while I was working on those sorts of shows and those movies, was they were filming everything on celluloid still, and they were going to HD, and it was very tentative because digital wasn't quite there yet, and it's like, is it going to be good enough? Like when you blow it up onto the big screen, is it going to be as good as film? Obviously it was, and they've, I would say most movies are now probably shot on digital. And the tech has just gone absolutely skyward. But I would say the stuff that we're now filming on, or you can get for, between £1,000 and £5,000, is now, as resolution wise, and probably as good as like 15 years ago or so they were using on the big movies. So that tech, I suppose, has developed, and the lighting is amazing now.
Yeah. You think about what you would have had to have spent, and that's one of the things I think we often say to to customers and friends when they sort of say to us, how can I sort of change, even just with my phone, like how can I add massive value without spending a fortune? And we always say, like, get yourself a couple of like bar lights or a couple of flat panels.
The lighting stuff is just so much more versatile and so much cheaper, and
you can get some really
same
powerful. We've got a couple of big lights. There's one here, sort of big flood, and historically, you'd have had to have spent thousands, and now you're talking hundreds, and it's a big difference, isn't it? Where do you see sound in terms of ranking of, within your production? Like how important is it?
Yeah, sound's massive. And I think you guys you've said it before on the thing. It's sort of, people will be more forgiving of a bad shot if they can understand what's being said. Yeah. And it depends on the type of content, but if you're thinking about stuff where people are talking, like you and I are talking, like, you just got to be audible and clear.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, in that regard. And it's another area where it's so much more accessible to make it decent, because not only obviously the mics are sort of available and cheaper in terms of getting good lavalier mics and stuff like that, but also you can sort of do more in post as well, which, you shouldn't fix it in post, but you can. So
there's a lot of actual
sort of air conditioners and crap like that,
and
background noise and stuff. You can do that and should do it, and be careful about doing it, because it's that that Zoom call where everything's a little bit underwater. That's when it's been too much, squeezed up.
So what are your top tips then? Give me your 3 top tips for amateurs looking to make their stuff better.
Well, the first one, I suppose, going back to that framing thing, but the tip is just to take a minute, and the movement as well, I suppose, and just to plan. Just take a moment, just look around, see what you've got, and then look at what the camera sees and what it's going to see. Plan any movement, plan the action, and just take a yard of pace off what you're doing so that you can get something a little bit better. The second one, we didn't really touch on editing, but I would say in terms of editing, just explore it, because it's the equalizer is editing, because it, you can kind of put it all together and you can experiment, and you don't need to have amazing tech to do that. And then I suppose then the final step of that is, when you've done stuff, watch it. Actually sit, watch it back. Don't be afraid to. Like, it's it's a tip that I should give myself more, because it's actually sometimes when if it's something you've worked on, especially, I mean, I will not watch this because this. So
I will watch it.
I'll show you what you let me know if it's if it's good or bad. But just watch it back and remember, because that's the final. That's what the world is seeing. What you imagined you were filming might not be the same as what the final thing that people are going to see. So pretend you're the audience, or show it to your granny or whatever. Just like watch the finished work.
Dude, thanks so much for this. You'll never see this again. I will see it again.
I might watch it.
You might watch it.
I might watch it.
But yeah.
Force my kids to watch it.
But yeah, I love you. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thanks.